All right. It's 9 o'clock already. Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you all doing well, and I'm quite sure that you've been looking forward to today's talk. Is GE Talk Episode 6 on General Education Beyond Borders, Best Practices from Hong Kong's leading universities. I'm Piraya Usajit, and I'll be moderating today's session. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to you all gathered here today. For today's interaction, we encourage you to participate actively. Feel free to use the chat to connect with fellow attendees, share your thoughts, or ask questions. Speaking of questions, we will have dedicated Q&A session at the end of all the presentations from both the speakers. So you can jot down your query as they come to you, or maybe you can type in the chat box if you would like to. And also a quick reminder to keep your microphones muted throughout the presentations to minimize background noise. If you have a burning question, the chat and the raise hand feature are your go-to options. And to kick off our event, we have the honor of hearing from Professor Dr. Piyamit Sitara, Acting President of Mahidol University and Chair of the Thai General Education Network, who will deliver the opening remarks for our today's webinar. But unfortunately, Professor Dr. Piyamit Sitara could not be with us in real time today. However, we are fortunate that he has recorded special opening remarks just for this occasion. So I invite you to take a moment and listen to his message as we kick off our event.
Distinguished guests, teaching committee, esteemed colleagues and friends, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this important event, the sixth in our GE Talk series. We have witnessed a tremendous interchange of ideas and practices among Thai universities in previous sessions. And we are now eager to expand this discourse outside our borders. As chair of the Thailand General Education Network, I am dedicated to creating an atmosphere in which cooperation and shared learning are at the forefront of our educational efforts. Our goal is to consistently improve the quality of general education, ensuring that it is responsive to our students' requirements in an ever-changing global world. Today, GE Talk is particularly special as it results from our network's visit to Hong Kong in March 2024, where we had the opportunity to engage with some of the leading minds in general education. The insight gained during that visit have inspired this session, which promises to offer invaluable perspectives on how we can further enrich our own general education programs. We are honored to have with us two distinguished speakers from Hong Kong, who are at the forefront of general education innovation. Professor Chiu Sung Nok, Professor of Mathematics at Hong Kong Baptist University, who has been key in developing a holistic, multidisciplinary approach to education that prioritizes the development of well-rounded, internationally aware students. Dr. Jack Tsao, Associate Director and Senior Lecturer at the University of Hong Kong's General Education, or Common Core, is a lead of encouraging interdisciplinary courses and innovative teaching strategies in general education to improve student engagement and learning outcomes. Their experiences and expertise will undoubtedly provide us with new perspectives and practical strategies that we can implement in our own institutions. The seminar offers an opportunity for learning as well as reflecting on how we can continue to expand and enhance our general education programs in Thailand. I would like to thank Professor Chiu and Dr. Tsao for joining us today. contributions of this series are extremely valuable, and we appreciate your willingness to share your knowledge with us. Finally, I want to thank the TGen committee for their constant support and hard effort in making this event happen. Your dedication ensures that we may continue to further our network's goal of fostering collaboration to improve general education in Thailand. As we move forward with today's session, I encourage you to participate actively, express your thoughts, and take full use of the opportunity to learn from our renowned speakers and from one another. Together, we can synergize and push the boundaries of general education, ensuring that it remains a key and essential component of Thailand's higher educational system. Thank you, and wish everyone productive and inspiring GE Talk.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Biyamisi Tara, for the opening remarks and for setting the stage for today's event. Yes, it is going to be an inspiring talk. Okay, now can I take this opportunity to ask all of you to turn on your camera so we can take a group photo together, okay, for this event, please. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to our first speaker. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tsao, a senior fellow of the Advanced Higher Education, Associate Director, and Senior Lecturer at Common Core, the University of Hong Kong. And this session, he'll be giving a talk on building an ecosystem for interdisciplinary general education, challenges and opportunities. Let's give a warm virtual welcome to Dr. Tsao.
Great. Can you all see that screen? Yes. Great. So thank you so much for the invitation to speak on the experiences of the University of Hong Kong. And so what I'll do is I'll be talking on the topic of building an ecosystem for interdisciplinary general education, talking about some of the challenges and opportunities from our experience implementing, I guess, our version of general education at HKU. Okay. Thank you for the introduction. As I said, my name is Tsao, and I'm with the Common Core, which is our version of general education, although we don't really call it general education at HKU. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is I'll share just an overview of what Hong Kong's Common Core is. Then I'll go through and talk about the ecosystem from an institutional and teaching perspective. And then I'll then talk about it from a student perspective on how we're providing a platform for students to innovate and also create, I guess, their version of general education as well. We have a recent publication in the leading journal for higher education, and if you want to, there's a spelling mistake. It should be higher education, but in the citation. But if you want to read further on the theoretical methodological approach of our, I guess, version of transdisciplinary education, general education, then you can, maybe read this article. It's open access, so you'll be able to access it. All right. Okay, so I just want to go through and just talk about the Common Core in the University of Hong Kong, which has been running for close to 13 years now. Okay. So this is our context. Your context at your university might be different. So of course, when you're implementing general education or what we call interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary education, then it has to fit into your context, your institutional reality. And so there's always some sort of recontextualization involved in implementation of GE. Okay. Anyway, our university originally was a college of medicine for Chinese in 1887, and then it was founded in, I guess, formally in 1911, and we have about 18,000 undergraduates. The postgraduate number is probably higher now, so it's actually more close to 15,000 now postgraduates. Half of the population of our students is non-local, so a big percentage is from mainland and then also internationally. Okay, we have a strategy of interdisciplinarity, internationalization, innovation, and impact. And so interdisciplinarity is one of our pillars in terms of our strategy of the university, and general education is part of that. Okay, I guess in terms of the challenges for higher education at the moment, we're seeing a convergence of technology, which is reinventing and disrupting higher education. Things like generative AI, but also a lot of digital edtech technologies are also making higher education maybe more complex or harder in terms of selling what we do to the students. Okay. And so there's a lot of competition from non-traditional and diverse educational providers. And so university is just one source of knowledge. And students basically now have a high expectation of university. They're looking at what are those experiences that they can get at university that they can't get elsewhere. Okay, and they can very easily go on YouTube or go on one of those online learning platforms and learn what they need without going to a lecture. All right. So what can we do as a university that is different, that is unique, that they feel like is more engaging than just getting content off online platforms? Because online platforms basically, I think, can do much better content delivery than we can if we deliver it in the same way. All right. Anyway, there's also issues around equity and affordability as well. Students also have they feel like maybe university's degree is not so valuable. And so, before it equated to a kind of very linear trajectory of getting a job, and now it's not the case. And we're also seeing this rise of micro-credentials from a lot of corporate universities, which might start competing with universities in terms of offering the skills and the knowledge to be able to get a job. So that's something challenging. There's also changing social consensus around higher education, especially in more Western developed nations. I guess less maybe in Asia. We still have maybe a more, more, I would say, especially in the Hong Kong or mainland, or even if you look at Singapore or Taiwan context, Confucian kind of ideals around education. And so I think that social consensus is quite strong. But in a lot of places like UK, US especially, and also Australia, you're seeing governments maybe not keeping up with funding for higher education. In Hong Kong, we're very lucky. The government's very, very supportive of higher education, and we get a lot of funding, especially the 8 public universities, including Baptist University. And as I said, there's going to be a shift towards lifelong learning, stackable credentials, including micro-credentials, and a diversity of learning pathways as well. And this is very challenging for higher education universities at the moment. Okay. All right. So I just want to talk about, I'm going to show you a video about Common Core. This is just a video that we show students around the Common Core of what Common Core is. I just want to play it very quickly and then I'll talk about Common Core and what it is.
Welcome to the University of Hong Kong and welcome to the Common Core. I am Julian Tanner, Director of the Common Core, and I'm excited to introduce all of you to the Common Core. The Common Core is an extraordinarily diverse collection of over 160 interdisciplinary courses which all undergraduates of HKU will have the opportunity to explore. The courses are divided into 4 areas of inquiry known as AOIs. The first AOI is Science, Technology and Big Data. The second AOI is Arts and Humanities. The third AOI is Global Issues. And the fourth AOI is China, Culture, State and Society. All of the Common Core courses are taught by professors from all 10 faculties of the university. This presents a wonderful opportunity for you to learn beyond your major and connect with students from different faculties. As you look forwards to your futures, many of the challenges you will face will be interdisciplinary. Therefore, the Common Core encourages you to think broadly, to learn creatively, and to develop critical skills necessary for your future success. The Common Core offers an extensive range of topics for you to explore, whether you're interested in the intersection between science and music, the connections of gaming and learning, or global issues such as crime and injustice, or family and development in modern China. The Common Core is sure to have courses that help you learn and flourish. In addition to the courses themselves, the Common Core provides opportunities for you to engage in interdisciplinary research, to participate in various global study and learning initiatives, and to make a positive impact on the community through your learning. I'd encourage you to explore our website to discover all that the Common Core has to offer. So engage, experiment, and enjoy. Wishing you all the very best on your academic journey with the Common Core.
Thank you. Right. So, what is Common Core? Common Core is part of the undergraduate degree requirement for the University of Hong Kong. So, if you're an undergraduate, no matter what you're studying, if you're studying in medicine or in dentistry or law or business administration, etc., you have to take Common Core courses. Right? So it is mandatory, and this is how we kind of emphasize the importance of interdisciplinary general education. Each Common Core course is 6 credits. So 6 credits is our normal kind of course credit. And 6 credits is equivalent to about approximately 120 to 180 hours of total time, including self-study time as well. So all undergraduates have to take 6 to 4 Common Core courses. And they usually take 4 Common Core courses if they're doing like intensive double degree. And so some degree programs, they only have to do 4, but most students have to take 6. Okay. And initially it was intended to be completed in the first 2 years of their degree, but that depends on the faculties now. So more faculty programs and requirements allow them to take it over time. And we find that students that take the Common Core courses later in their degrees usually enjoy it much better. Okay. And that's a very consistent feedback from students. If they're just coming in and they're trying to do all their Common Core courses in the first year, they usually don't enjoy it as much because they don't have the context within their disciplinary kind of majors to be able to look kind of outside. So that's very interesting kind of insight from our students. And so that's something to keep in mind. All right. So in terms of the history, we started planning for Common Core back in 2006. We had a general education program. It was not compulsory. But then after Common Core came in, we then replaced the general education program with our Common Core. So, it's a little bit different from the general education that we did before. And I'll explain later on why it's different. So basically, we were responding to a legislative change where, so it's called the 3+3+4 new academic structure. Basically, what happened was we took 1 year from the high school curriculum, I guess high school education, and then we put that towards university degrees, which means students come in much earlier to university. So they usually come in at 18, but now they're coming in at around 17 years old. Okay, and so that's what we did. And it's a 4-year university degree instead of a 3-year university degree. And that's shifting from the UK system, which is usually 3 years, towards a more mainland American system. All right. So we started planning in 2006. We had a document, quite a thick document called Transforming Student Learning, a 4-year undergraduate curriculum reform. And the steering committee was by senior leaders. So it was by Amy Choi, who was the Vice President of Teaching and Learning at our university, and our provost, Professor Richard Wong as well. And then we also had diverse representatives from each faculty involved in the planning process. And so this is our 6-year planning phase. So we started planning in 2006, and then we did 2 years of partial implementation in 2010 to 2012. And then at 2012, we did the full launch of our curriculum. So there was a lot of, I guess, University of Hong Kong has very, very powerful faculties. And so we needed to get faculty buy-in for this particular program. Given that we're creating an extra year of university, we didn't want the faculties to just fill in that extra year with disciplinary knowledge. Okay. So also, I guess, from the legislation, the government didn't want that to happen. The government wanted a liberal arts type of education. And so each university in Hong Kong did something a little bit different. Okay, so some of the public universities in Hong Kong, some of them were more focused on service learning, more focused on kind of community partnership components. We decided to fill that extra year with interdisciplinarity as our kind of foundational program. Okay. Anyway, so we had a detailed consultation. We had a lot of retreats with a lot of faculty involvement. We had curriculum reform lectures, seminars. We invited international scholars to our university. And then, as I said, we did the partial launch for 2 years and then a full launch in 2012. Okay. And we phased out our general education program. And our general education program before was more focused on skills. And we wanted our Common Core interdisciplinary program to be less focused on that. We wanted to be more focused on concepts, more focused on thinking through different issues, different themes, different questions. And that's why we have our thematics, our areas of inquiry. And I'll talk more about that later on. Okay. So why the Common Core for the students? So there's a motto of engage, experiment, enjoy, which you saw from the video from our director. It's getting students to learn beyond their disciplines. We recognize that the future of our, I guess, jobs, future of society is more interdisciplinary. It's also for personal growth and also jump-starting their careers. We had a lot of students who have studied something outside their discipline, but still taking their majors and doing something very creative with their careers. It's also an opportunity to make friends from across different disciplines and to network across the university. We're also very focused on the growth of students' emotional, intellectual, and moral capacities. And so a lot of these Common Core courses also deals with those things, deals with ethics, deals with emotional regulation, understanding human nature, for example. This is within the original document. So in the original document in 2006 that we drafted, We said, whether young people will be able to face up to challenges of tomorrow's world depends significantly on the learning experiences in these 4 years. So we really had this future readiness focus right from the beginning. Anyway, so our inspiration was we went and studied North American models for general education, liberal arts education, and common core or their kind of core curriculum. And then we took some of that feedback and then we recontextualized it into our situation. So we wanted to mitigate the problems and criticisms of like fragmentation. So there was a lot of programs in North America where students kind of did a little bit of this, did a little bit of this. And this can happen in general education, where students are doing things, but it's not really tied in together. So we wanted to not have students just doing introductory courses of kind of general disciplinary categories. We wanted them to be able to tie and integrate things together. And as I said, there's a strategic alignment to our university strategy. So in terms of the interdisciplinarity aspect, but also the impact as well. So a lot of our Common Core courses are aligned to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so that allows, I guess, the teachers, but also the students to understand or link what they learn to the real world. It's also aligned to our strategy for delivering for our students, and also to our educational aims, which are competency-based goals like leadership, defining ill-defined problems, collaboration, communication, intercultural competencies, etc. We also have a structure that oversees the quality of our programs, and I'll talk more about how that works later on. Okay. Anyway, so this is kind of the framework for Common Core. We've got our areas of inquiries, art, humanities, science, technology, big data, and global issues, China, culture, state.
ถ้าใครเสร็จแล้วเดี๋ยวรอสักครู่นะเดี๋ยวการตั้งการเก็บข้อสอบที่
Oh, sorry, was there a question? No? Okay. Fine. And then we've got links to our Teaching and Learning Innovation Center. We've got teacher development programs, and then we've also got this initiative called Communication Intensive Courses Initiative. We also have the co-curriculum, which consists of undergraduate research, future readiness initiatives, experiential learning, and also global outreach or kind of internationalization. Our mantra for the Common Core is inspired pragmatism. So there's an experimentational aspect of trying to create a different culture, but there's also the pragmatism of serving the real world and also being realistic to the resources available to students and also teachers. Okay, so it's a cultural experimentation. It's trying to build a different cultural space. It's a sandbox to experiment with teaching and learning, especially for the teachers. And we've had a lot of teachers who teach in Common Core and use the Common Core as a space to try out new things. Okay, we don't really have any final exams. We probably have 1 or 2 courses that has final exams. But yeah, we don't really encourage final exams. And we have a diverse range of assessments, which I'll talk about later on. We use the term transdisciplinarity, and when you talk about interdisciplinarity, you're talking about kind of talking between the disciplines. Okay, but transdisciplinarity is floating across the disciplines, including social knowledge. So we don't think that knowledge is just within the university. Knowledge can be also the students' lived experiences, but also knowledge of the social actors. And I know Baptist University also uses the term transdisciplinarity a lot as well. So that's something that we've been using more and more as a language. And a lot of universities around the world are also, instead of general education, they're using the word transdisciplinarity as the term. Okay, it's more expansive. It allows kind of institutions to take general education in more kind of directions. Okay, And also, yeah, we want to create a culture of attraction and platform for widening participation. So it's always how can we include more of the university community within, I guess, the general education curriculum, and experimenting beyond the curriculum, looking at kind of different things. And that's the co-curriculum that we've been working on. Okay. And so this area of inquiry, students, so as I said, students have to take at least like 6 or 4 Common Core courses, which means they will have to take one from each area of inquiry. So it's science, technology, big data, arts, humanities, which usually are maybe sometimes refer to dichotomously, and also global issues, and also local, kind of China, culture, and state and society. So the thematic organization is kind of overlapping in some sense, but it allows students to have some sort of coherence in terms of what they're studying, okay, instead of that fragmentation. And so that's how we deal with the problem of fragmentation that we see in a lot of general education programs. Emphasis is on intellectual curiosity and progression. It goes beyond just mere acquisition of skills. There are skills building, but it's not the main focus. Okay. And it's about holistic understanding of key issues, concepts, methodologies, and practices. And it's also very integrated into a more kind of authentic view of knowledge and also view of life. Okay. So there's courses around well-being, there's courses about understanding life and philosophies of life. We've got a lot of courses that deals with religion, for example, as well. Okay. Okay, and we're in the next academic year, not this one coming up, but the one coming up in 2025-26. We're also introducing a new area of inquiry called artificial intelligence. And so each area of inquiry has around 30 to 40 courses, which are offered by the faculties, and then students can then select based on those courses. Each of the area of inquiry also has a guiding document outlining some of the key priorities. So these are the key priorities for the current themes at the moment. And they are questions, basically. So questions which allow teachers then to propose courses to answer some of these questions. All right. So we don't actually tell the teachers what courses to propose. The teachers propose the courses, and then we look at to see whether that aligns to the guiding document of the area of inquiry, whether it's answering some of these kind of priorities or questions. Okay. As I said, we also have a focus on sustainable development goals because it's a way of linking to social impact and real world problems as well. There's a lot of flexibility in our courses. We've got 18 fully online courses because some of our students travel for exchange, or they do kind of enrichment year where they have to go out and do some community partnerships overseas. So this allows them to do that, take their Common Core courses while they're overseas or away from Hong Kong. We also have like summer courses, which are intensive over 1 month. And we also have recently introduced micro-credential courses, which are 3 credit courses, which means they have to do 2 of them to be equivalent to 1 course. And so these are intensively over 1 week or 2 weeks, but they're very different experiences. So they're experiences where it's very, very experiential. They could be going out to build something. It could be art installations. It could be, recently we had a trip where the teacher took students to mainland China, to northern China, to look at World War II issues in mainland China, and that's for 1 or 2 weeks. And so they get to be really immersed in the culture, but also really immersed in the whole knowledge of that particular issue. Okay. We also offer minors and clusters, so students can actually, if they plan well, they can also get a minor in transdisciplinarity as well. Okay. And we've also won a few awards from the Common Core, and more recently the QS International Award for our program. As I said, we have this future readiness focus from the very beginning. We don't think we want students to be focused more on the flexible skills, the skills that they can transfer across into different professions rather than the technical skills. Okay, a lot of employers tell us that technical skills can be not all professions, but most professions, technical skills can be trained, whereas flexible skills, things like collaboration, intercultural competency, leadership, defining, framing ill-defined problems, for example, those things are much harder for employers to train. And so we're more focused on those skill sets. We want to make our graduates very competitive and resilient for the workplace. I mean, we've got a very high placement rate. So our placement rate is around 98, 99%, which is very, very high. So yeah, which means, 98 to 99% of our graduates get a job when they graduate. Okay. And our Common Core curriculum helps with that. And then also our projects, internships, global exchanges, events, mentoring, other experimentations around research also helps with, building those skills. Okay. We also have the co-curriculum, which is an optional program from our curriculum. So it allows students to take short, kind of light touch, but authentic experiences. It's an opportunity for students to build their CVs, build their portfolios, acquire flexible skill sets, to explore different disciplines. So it's open to all students. So whether they want to get into, design thinking, or they want to explore sustainability issues, it doesn't matter what discipline they're coming from, they can get involved in these co-curriculum programs. Okay. And so we want them primarily for the co-curriculum programs to develop their research skills. So it's we're kind of redefining what research means for undergraduates. A lot of undergraduates have preconceptions of research as kind of very scientific. So we're trying to loosen up their imaginations to say, hey, research can be many, many different things. Okay. So these are the types of co-curricular activities that we have. We've got workshops and seminars, which can be a few hours or can be half a day, one day. We've got short-term research projects. And a lot of these research projects are usually with community partners or corporates. And so it's helping them with a particular aspect which they need. And so recently we worked with Arab, for example, in creating consulting cards based on Hong Kong for sustainability purposes. And a lot of these, and that output was quite interesting because that output then was used by the teachers within HKU, but also used by teachers around Hong Kong as well when talking about sustainability. We've also got travel opportunities. We've also got volunteer opportunities available, competitions, and a lot of our students enter competitions and win a lot of prizes, and also showcases as well. And connections to the community, which we work very closely with. Okay, so I just want to move on now to talking about building the ecosystem from an institutional and teaching perspective. I guess this talk, some of you are teaching in general education, and that's fine. But I guess my talk is more aimed at how do you institutionalize this system with and sustained general education from an administrative kind of perspective. Okay. So this is our process. We've got a course approval process. Basically, every year we do a call out to teachers, and teachers propose a course that they would like to teach. And that can be anything they want. Okay, it can be something related to their disciplinary expertise. It can be something unrelated to their disciplinary expertise, but they have expertise in that particular topic. Okay. So we have, for example, people from emergency medicine teaching about religion, for example, because that's what they're very passionate about. Okay. And that's fine for us. Okay. So basically the teachers propose a course, they write up the syllabus, and they propose, what they're going to do every lecture or every week. What are they going to do in terms of the assessments? And then they submit that to the Common Core. Okay. Basically, then we have a team of faculty, which is called the Common Core Error Inquiry Committee. And that committee then looks through these proposals. We do a peer review process where 2 faculty members from that committee looks through one of the applications and then decides whether to approve it or not. Okay. So about 50% of those proposals get approved. And so not all of the proposals get approved. Okay. It's based on quality, it's based on the type of assessments, it's based on whether we believe the course aligns to the thematic, the area of inquiry, and also the key priorities under those area of inquiries. Okay. So it's a very rigorous kind of process of selection. But once those courses get selected, basically the university centrally provides money to the faculties, okay, for those courses, for the teaching of those courses. The faculties at the dean level can then decide what to do with that money. Okay. I guess, and that money then might go to the department that proposed the course, might go to the teacher that proposes the course. That money can be used in any way they want. Okay. So sometimes faculty use Common Core or kind of Common Core teaching money to hire teachers, to hire teaching assistants, to support their courses. Sometimes not. Sometimes they divert that to research. So there's a lot of departments, for example, that use Common Core money to help them hire researchers to be able to then expand on their research footprint. Okay. Provided they can, they have the adequate resources to teach the course. Okay. Because if the course is not evaluated highly, then that course can get discontinued as well. All right. Anyway, so the funding follows the student numbers. Typically, each course has a maximum of 120 students. Some courses we have 250 students as well. So we've got mega courses, and for those mega courses, the university would allocate twice the amount of money. Okay, and that money is quite valuable because the courses are quite high number of students, so there's a lot of money allocated to faculties for teaching those courses, which means it's quite attractive for the faculties to teach Common Core courses. Okay. As I said, the course proposals are by the teachers. We don't really give guidance to the teachers to say, hey, you need to teach these courses. The teachers propose the courses themselves. Okay. We might give some recommendations on how to improve the courses. So there's a consultation period where the teachers can talk to committee members to see how they can improve their proposals, and before the final approval process happens. Okay. We also give some funding for new courses so that the teachers can experiment or do research around their course proposals as well. Okay. Anyway, so the faculties propose the courses based on their passions, interests. They encourage, so we encourage faculties to think about interdisciplinary thinking and how to translate that into a broad kind of course for all the undergraduates. Okay. Given that we've got students from all the different degrees studying in those courses. Okay. And then the courses also adjust every academic year, depending on the context as well. There's also a renewal process. So every 3 years, we also renew the the courses. Some courses also get retired because the academics leave, other staff leave, and then we've got other courses replacing. So gradually we've had a steady increase of courses. We've got about 180 courses at the moment. And then because of the new area of inquiry of artificial intelligence, we'll probably get more of that, maybe close to 200 courses. Okay, and they're all from different faculties. Common Core doesn't have any courses that we propose from our office. This is all coming from the faculties. So it's collaboration with the faculties. We're giving money to the faculties to support them. And this also provides incentives for the faculties to involve more junior professoriate staff, because junior professoriate staff usually are more involved in research, because that's how they get their tenure. But we also want to encourage the professoriate staff to get involved in teaching as well, to leverage off their expertise. And so that's something we also use the funding to encourage that to happen. Okay. And most of our teaching is done by professoriate staff. We also have lecturers, but these will need kind of special approval as well. Okay. So professoriate staff is a big part of our kind of teaching. Okay. Course requirements. So as I said, 6 credits is about 120 to 180 hours workload. And we don't encourage introductory courses. If someone proposes introduction to a discipline, we usually would reject that. So we don't allow introductory courses to come through. It has to be interdisciplinary. It has to interrogate topics through a kind of interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary lens. Okay. As I said, key ideas, practices, methodologies, perspectives. The teachers have to outline week by week what they're going to teach. And then there's a commitment to teach the course for 3 years. Okay. And that gets renewed every 3 years. In terms of teaching requirement, we require 36 hours of contact time. Okay. So that's usually 24 hours of lectures and 12 hours of kind of small class tutorials. Although, teachers can do whatever they like with those times. So it doesn't have to be that format. So it just has to be 36 hours of contact time. Some teachers like to do bigger class tutorials. So they might get all the students in for 3 hours and have a 3-hour tutorial where they're playing games, they're doing experiential activities. We've got teachers who take students out on field trips instead of doing lectures. So they record the lectures, they put the lectures online, but then they decide to use their contact time for something else. Okay. And so we're getting more and more of that happening as well, because I guess traditional lectures, traditional sage on stage kind of, I guess dialectical kind of lectures maybe is more, is not seen very well by, or taken very well by students. So we tend to encourage teachers not to do that too much now. Okay. So there's flexibility for teachers to experiment. We allow kind of Common Core to be a sandbox for pedagogical experimentation. So the teachers, they can experiment with very, very different ways of teaching. And we also allow the course to be taught by up to 4 teachers. Okay. Not including the tutorials. So the tutors, there's teaching assistants, of course, but the teaching can be done by 4 teachers. So it can be professorial staff, can be lecturers, can be kind of guest lecturers, etc. And then some teachers also teach their own tutorials, but they might also employ kind of teaching assistants, lecturers, demonstrators to help them as well. Okay. And that's totally up to how the teachers want to do it, how the faculties want to do it. In terms of assessments, we do encourage more diversity in assessments, not too many assessments per course. So ideally 3 to 4 assessment items per course. Anything more than, it's too much work. But we do want to encourage that diversity. And so we also encourage group work and also a lot of project work as well. So some examples of assessments that we have are photojournals, poster presentations, art installations, film kind of videos, geocaching analysis, app development, ethnographies. We have a course digitizing cultural heritage and building a database, and that database is shared publicly, for example. And so that's how, students are kind of feeling like they're contributing to real world knowledge as well. We do discourage traditional sit-in exams. As I said, we probably only have 1 or 2 courses that still has that. But yeah, we don't encourage that anymore. So if courses are being proposed and they've got sit-in exams, we would probably say no to that course. Okay. And of course, there's an alignment between the course curriculum content, the course learning outcomes, and the assessments, which is what we call outcome-based approach to student learning. And, that's very important. We also have this communication intensive courses, which started off within the Common Core. So 1/3 of our Common Core courses are badged communication intensive. So what that means is there has been intentional teaching and assessment of 2 or 4 literacies in these courses. So written, oral, visual, and digital. Okay, so 2 of those. And there has been intentional teaching, so there has to be time allocated to teaching these things, and it has to be assessed as well. It also has to be within the learning outcomes, explicitly stated. Okay. These courses are also marked in the academic transcripts, so employers can look at if the students took these communication intensive courses, then that can be used in terms of the recruitment process. Okay. So now this communication intensive initiative has so we've got about 50 courses within Common Core, which is communication intensive, which is about 1/3 of our Common Core courses, just under that. But this communication intensive courses initiative has also expanded across the university. So it's no longer the kind of Common Core general education courses. It's also across 350 other courses across the university, which means that students are getting communication learning throughout their degree programs instead of just a specialized course teaching them that skill. Okay, so in terms of enacting transdisciplinarity, courses, as I said, are reviewed by subcommittees for the area of inquiry, and they're composed of faculty members across different disciplines. So the interdisciplinarity that's coming through of our courses is being reviewed by people from different perspectives, different disciplines, different disciplinary expertise. So instead of telling the teachers how to do transdisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, we're getting the faculty committees to do that through their review process. Okay. And then we've also got courses. These courses also inspire interdisciplinary research as well. So it's not just the teachers teaching it. Teachers, because of their teaching, has also become more interdisciplinary and published around interdisciplinary topics all around teaching as well. So it encourages research from these teachers. So the Common Core, is a very expansive program. It has a lot of legitimacy across the university, a lot of support because it's studied by all undergraduates, but also participated by all the 10 faculties. We also have time reserved for Common Core courses. So Wednesday afternoon and Saturday mornings are reserved for Common Core courses. And so, and this kind of creates a institutional footprint of the place of Common Core within the university. Also, over time, faculties also rely on Common Core courses, Common Core funding to operate. And so they continue teaching the Common Core as well. In terms of our committee, as I said, we've got faculty-led committees. The committees are composed of members across different faculties. They make major decisions. They steer the direction of the core, and then they approve course applications and help us make kind of key decisions. Okay. We also have external examiners from kind of top universities around the world. from across different disciplines. And they're very useful in terms of legitimization, but also quality assurance of the curriculum as well. Okay. They also visit us in Hong Kong. They review courses, they do assessments, or they assess our assessments. So they would look at whether our assessments are appropriate or not. And then they also talk with the teachers, talk with the tutors, and talk with the students when they're here to get feedback. Okay. And so we can kind of slowly improve our curriculum through this process. We also have annual forums that we hold to get feedback from teachers and the tutors about issues, challenges, ideas. We also meet regularly with the students to get a pulse check on what's working, what's not working. And so we've got this kind of peer student consultants gathering where we select students and students volunteer as well to give their feedback. Of course, we do have formal evaluations as well, which we also look at. But the talk with the students, usually we get more detailed feedback from the students. Okay. And yeah, it's really important to support the teachers in teaching the general education courses. So we've got a small administrative team, but we also support the teachers through professional development. We have communities for the teaching assistants, the tutors, who are usually the front line of student learning experience. And so I think that's very, very valuable in terms of building the expertise of our teachers. We've seen a gradual improvement in the evaluations, where now the Common Core courses are evaluated much higher than the disciplinary courses. Okay. Our tutor feedback is very, very high. So it's sitting at above 80%. A lot of them over 90% as well in terms of course effectiveness. Okay. And of course, our international exchange partners, potential partners as well, can help us in terms of delivering learning to our students. So we have exchanges, we've got courses taught outside of Hong Kong, and then we've got the co-curricular programs as well. Okay. In terms of flexibility, we also allow students to be able to kind of study elsewhere and then map those courses to Common Core courses. So they can study general education in other universities and then get that approved at Common Core. All right. So then they don't have to just take Common Core courses. It can be taken also elsewhere at other universities with other courses. Okay. So in terms of more specifically for students, building the ecosystem of students, the enrollment evaluations are very important. So if a course accepts 120 students, if we don't get enough students enrolling in the course, then the course does not run. And so there's a big incentive for teachers to make sure that the courses are interesting for the students. Okay. So if it's an introduction to physics, then maybe no one's going to take that course. So they need to make it engaging for the students. So courses that have low enrollments, then we don't allow them to run. Most courses, though, get very high enrollments. There are a lot of popular courses that have long wait lists, over 120 students, for example. And the evaluation scores also determine whether the courses run or not. So if the courses are not evaluated well, then we discontinue the courses as well. So the teachers need to make sure their courses are attractive, but also make sure the courses are taught well for the courses to continue to run and for them to get money, get the funding. Okay. As I said, the courses are rated favorably against disciplinary courses. So they're significantly higher than disciplinary courses. And they have, since we started, have been trending upwards. Okay. At the beginning, there was a lot of concern from students about the courses and, GPAs and all that. Why can't they just do their disciplinary courses? But then we don't hear that complaint as much nowadays. Okay. Common Core courses are generally very, very well accepted by the students. We do allow a proviso of 1 out of 6 courses to be exempt from GPA calculations. Actually, I mean, the grades that students get from Common Core courses are usually higher than disciplinary courses, so there's not a lot of problems. But this proviso allows students just to experiment. So they might be very interested in a course, but that course might look really, really hard. Okay, and so we just want them to just be guided by curiosity. Even if they don't do so well in that course can be taken away from the GPA calculation, which students are very, very concerned about. Okay. And we also moderate the grade distribution so that there's no big disparities in, one course. If a course is too difficult and, there's not a lot of A's, we usually get the teachers to make adjustments so that the grade distributions are consistent across the courses. And this can discourage aberrations in terms of the student enrollment patterns. Otherwise, you might get a course being really, really easy, and then all the students want to take that course. Okay, so we've kind of adjusted to that. Anyway, these are some of the sample research projects that from the co-curricular program. This is from 2021 and 2022. And we've worked with the Rotary Peace Center at Chulalongkorn before, for example, on a kind of internship project. But these are just a sample of the projects we've been running for the last 3 years. Okay, so these are some of the ones. You can see a lot of them are working with community partners, with other universities, with even local universities as well, in kind of very different topics. Okay, and these are more recent projects. So we've been working, with Arab, on game design and sustainability, artificial intelligence, recently we've run a hackathon as well. And this year we're also running a hackathon with other public universities in Hong Kong, including Baptist University, in September and October. Right. Anyway, this is our structured research project. So these are the projects that the Common Core creates, and students can enroll in the projects to kind of gain different skills and get immersed in different topics. So there's one on nighttime design of open spaces, and one on urban futures consulting. There's one around talking to migrant workers in Hong Kong. We've got a lot of, for example, Filipino migrant workers, and there's a project around interviewing them, talking to them, finding out about their life, conducting research around that. There's one around game design, and also looking at sustainability issues around water. So these are some of the projects we have. We also have platforms for students to do their own projects. So whatever it is they want. Okay, so there's a undergraduate research project. So if the students want to do some, they're interested in something, they want to do research, they can find a faculty mentor, write a proposal, and then we'll fund that proposal. And we've had students, traveling to the UK, traveling to the US, or, going to Thailand recently and just doing research. We also have Experiential Learning Fund, which is for students to undertake experiential learning. And whatever they want to do. So that can be locally, that can be in the mainland, or that can be overseas, regionally, or, more internationally. We also have competitions as well, where students can, create ventures and then enter into international competitions. So students we've had a lot of students enter competitions and win a lot of prizes, from this platform. Okay. These are some of these student-initiated experiential projects. So recently we've had students renovating schools in Myanmar, in actually going to Mae Sot, and there's a lot of refugee camps there, and a lot of refugee schools, or schools for Myanmar refugees. And so a group of students went there and, they created their own project. They went there, they renovated schools. They taught students design thinking. We've had students going to, help with rural sanitation in Philippines, building toilets, etc. We've had students creating mental health fairs for the public and, doing very experimental things like sound installations as well. Okay. All right. So anyway, just to conclude, I know I've been talking a lot. So, how I think general education is important. It's going to be more and more important as, I guess, as students are looking for new experiences. Okay. It's going to be more important in terms of the building flexible skill sets for students to adapt to a very uncertain, ambiguous kind of future. So, how do you sustain general education programs within universities? An important factor is to occupy substantial institutional territory. Okay. And I don't mean territory from a kind of spatial perspective. It's also, space cognitive perspective, but also from a temporal kind of perspective as well. Okay. How do you create platforms that align with desires of the departments, faculties, the schools, but also the teachers and also the students? And how do you create space for experimentation? And that's experimentation for the teachers pedagogically, but also experimentation for the students in terms of what they want to do and create something that's exciting for them. Okay. Anyway, that's my kind of final 3 points. Okay. Thank you. Engage, experiment, enjoy. If you have any questions, you can always email me as well, and I can help you, but also you can ask questions later on in the session. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Tsao, for such an insightful and inspiring talk regarding how an ecosystem for interdisciplinary general education has been built so far in Hong Kong context, along with challenges, opportunities, the flexibility of Common Core courses, how the university encouraged lecturers to create courses, how teachers are supported, how to engage and support students, and how the quality of the courses are controlled. The university offers a wide range of courses in each theme and various core curriculum activities. Students can choose ones depending on their curiosity, and teacher can also create courses out of their passion as well. That is very inspiring indeed. Thank you very much. Now, moving on to our second speaker, let's welcome Professor Chiu Sung Nok. He is a professor of mathematics at Hong Kong Baptist University. And in this session, he will be presenting the Interdisciplinary GE Capstone course. Let's give him a warm virtual welcome.
Thank you. Okay, let me use the full screen mode. Okay. So thank you for inviting me to this webinar. So I was the director of GE up to last month, and the new director of GE was on board exactly today. So I'm going to share with you my experience in the past 5 years at the Hong Kong Baptist University. So the title of my talk is talking about capstone. And a capstone is a stone at the top of a building. And so when we talk about the GE capstone, we have to understand that we are going to design a course that provides cumulative experience in the GE program. And it can be as a course, an interdisciplinary course, or an independent study. But to understand the GE capstone of a university, no matter it's Hong Kong Baptist University or the University of Hong Kong, we should first understand the GE program at that university. And to understand the GE program at HKBU, Hong Kong Baptist University, we should first understand the vision and mission of HKBU. So Hong Kong Baptist University our vision is to be a leading liberal arts university in Asia for the world, delivering academic excellence in a caring, creative, and global culture. And we are committed to academic excellence in teaching, research, and service, and to develop the development of the whole person education in all these endeavors built upon the heritage of Christian higher education. Even though we are talking about Christian higher education, but because we are a public university, so we also welcome students with all kinds of religions background. And we decided 7 graduate attributes, and these are the attributes. So the first one is citizenship. So it means to be responsible citizens with an international outlook and a sense of ethics and civility. And the GE Capstone plays an important role because of its community engagement activities like service learning that I will explain a bit more later on. Knowledge. We want our students to have up-to-date, in-depth knowledge of an academic specialty, as well as a broad range of cultural and general knowledge. And GE Capstone is not an exception. Service learning is different from volunteer service. So every GE course is talking about knowledge, even including service learning. It's not only talking about volunteer service. And learning. So we want students to be independent, lifelong learners with an open mind and inquiring spirit. And G program will supplement the major discipline programs by providing students with exposure to interdisciplinary studies. So they know not only their own discipline, but they also know a lot of other disciplines, so that they can have an open mind and they will ask questions from different perspectives. And we want students to have the necessary information literacy and IT skills. And in the GE program, we requires every student to complete at least a course in the so-called quantitative reasoning category. So it also helps students to fulfill these graduate attributes. And we want our students to be able to think critically and creatively. And, critical thinking and creativity can be learned. But exclusive classroom learning will not be as effective as experiential learning for addressing societal issues, which is exactly the pedagogy that we adopted in the GE Capstone. Communication is another important graduate attribute. We want our students to be trilingual and biliterate competence in English and Chinese, and have the ability to articulate ideas clearly and coherently. So students, all undergraduate students, are required to complete 2 courses in English and 1 course in Chinese. But for GE courses, especially when talking about group projects, typically the communication skills is a criterion in the assessment rubrics. However, I always remind our instructors of GE courses that we are not talking about language courses. We are talking about GE courses. And so we assess not students' language skills, but their ability to articulate ideas for the purpose of the projects. So that they have to make sure that we are not always assessing students' English level in every course. So we make sure that in a GE course, we assess their ability to articulate ideas for the purpose of that GE course. And the last graduate attribute is teamwork. So the students are supposed to be ready to serve, to lead, and to work in a team, and to pursue a healthy lifestyle. And exam type assessment is capped at 40% in total in all courses, not only GE courses. And in fact, in the vast majority of our GE courses, there is no final exam. But, well, as you know, I'm a mathematician, and so I'm not really against final exam. So there are still some courses that have final exam. And all GE courses have group projects so that they will develop their teamwork. skills. But talking about all these features, we have to keep in mind that a GE program should not be merely a collection of gemstones. Otherwise, there will be no capstones. They are just gems. So we want to have a coherent program with its own philosophy and its own intended learning outcomes, so that at the end of the program, we can put a capstone to mark the completion, successful completion of the program. So let's talk about the philosophy of our GE program. So these are the graduate attributes. So the GE program is supposed to provide students with a well-rounded university education to help them achieve the 7 graduate attributes. And it foregrounds the essential elements of whole person education, which is our commitment. And students have to work as a team, the members of which receive the different trainings in different disciplines. And this is exactly what they will face in their career after graduation. So this is really important, that they are able to work in a team consisting of members with different trainings in different disciplines. And they should be able to solve problems that cannot be solved by monodisciplinary approaches. And that's exactly why they have to work in a team. So we have our intended learning outcomes. We have to write them down so that when instructors want to develop courses, they won't deviate from the philosophy of our GE program. There will be a lot of excellent, brilliant ideas that can meet the purpose of GE, but we want to focus on the intended learning outcomes that we promise to the society, so that every HKBU graduate will have achieved the same intended learning outcomes. So the first one is talking about historical and cultural perspectives. And then we also want students to be able to apply various value systems to decision making, and to be able to use data for various purposes, and to relay their majors with interdisciplinary thematic knowledge that they acquire from GE courses or from other courses that are outside their own major discipline. And we want them to gain insights into contemporary personal, professional, and community situations, so that they are good citizens of the society. So these are our 5 intended learning outcomes. Now, before I continue with our GE program, perhaps we should spend a few minutes on the undergraduate curriculum of our university. So about half of their units will be their major discipline, and then about a quarter will be free electives to enable students to pursue a minor or to get into some discipline that is different from their major. And then another quarter is about university core and GE. And the university core is about the 2 English courses and 1 Chinese course. And of course, we have international students, including students from Thailand. And so there is an alternative course for students whose native language is not Chinese. And so they have an opportunity to learn Chinese, but it is not overly demanding that make them difficult. And there is a core course called the Art of Persuasion to enhance their communication skills. So to apply the language skill they acquire from the language courses and to be able to make public speaking. And they have to take a course in the category called the Healthy Lifestyle, and there are about 20 courses available. These courses are not only about physical exercises, so it's not only PE. It may be, say, talking about how to have a healthy life by using traditional Chinese medicine, how to handle stress and pressure, etc. So it's not only PE. Now let's go to our main dish, the GE program. So the academic breadth and depth of learning in GE is achieved not by an array of courses. What do I mean by an array of courses? So it is not through taking, say, 3 introductory courses in each of, say, 3 categories. That's what I mean by an array of courses. It is a pyramid structure for students to make progress. So here is our pyramid structure. We have 3 levels for students to make progress. So the level 1, so foundational courses. So students are required to take 1 course in each of the 3 categories. So the first category is talking about history and civilization, and we have a very clear aim, so to align with the program's intended learning outcome, and to help instructors to develop their courses. We specify some more intended learning outcomes in this category. So I'm not going through all these details, but what I want to show is that we have to write down the framework for instructors so that they won't deviate from what we want our students to learn under this program. So another category is values and the meaning of life, and this is going to align with this learning outcome of our program. And of course, there are also learning outcomes within this category, but I don't show you the details. The third category is quantitative reasoning, so to enable students to use data for their arguments and reasoning. So after they finish their level 1 courses, they can proceed to level 2, talking about interdisciplinary courses. Students are required to take 2 courses under 1 or 2 of the following 3 streams. What are they? So first is culture, creativity, and innovation. The second is science, technology, and society. And the third one is sustainable communities. So this is for our purpose to develop courses with a clear framework, and students can choose their 2 courses within the same theme. So we do not require our students to take 2 different themes. So it is up to them. It is up to them to take courses that meet their need and their interest. But interdisciplinary courses, they are easier said than done. It's not something like psychology 101 plus physics 101 plus Pilates 101 to make it interdisciplinary. It's not. So, and let me give you an example. There is a course entitled Playing Sand, and have a look of its teaching and learning activities and assessments. You will see that we require students to compare mobile phone tuner and physical tuning forks. I hope nowadays students still know what a physical tuning fork is if they play musical instrument. And we also require students to write programming code in Python to imitate sounds of different musical instruments. So you guess which department offer this course? By computer science, because we have to write Python program. Physics, because we are talking about sound. Or music or film, we have these departments in our university. The answer may be surprising, but after a second thought, it's not that surprising because I am a mathematician. So it's from mathematics. How? Because if you want to play sounds, you have to mathematicize sounds by, technically speaking, Fourier transform. So difficult calculus, so it doesn't matter. So we have to mathematicize sounds so that you can use computer to play sounds. That's exactly why it is offered by the math department. And another course, soccer, beyond the pitch, data, culture, and society. The idea is to combine analysis of data and performance with discussions of soccer's cultural, historical, and political context. And you won't be surprised again. So it's offered by the math department. All right. And these are interdisciplinary courses. Now, another course, when science fiction comes through the future of humanity, You may guess, again, that is from math department. So the purpose of this course is to link the fantasy world of science fiction with reality. So is it really from the math department or other science departments? Or is from our department? We have this department, humanities and creative writing. Is it from this department? Surprisingly, no. It's from management. So you can see you or we should not label a course by its offering department or by its title. We have to look into the contents to figure out what exactly we are going to discuss in the course. But wait, these examples, each of them is offered by a single department. But we have courses that are offered by two departments. So, for example, this Seeing the World from Artistic and Scientific Perspectives is offered by Visual Arts and Physics. And Are Science and Religion Compatible is a course offered by Religion and Philosophy and Chemistry. Here is another course offered by Religion and Philosophy and Government and International Studies. And To Fear or Not to Fear the Coming of AI is by Economics and Computer Science. But wait, how we can connect instructors from different departments or even from different faculties to co-develop this kind of interdisciplinary GE courses? We will talk about this later today. And next year, just show you another exciting example. We will have a new course entitled Critical AI Literacies, Embracing AI for Social Good. It's co-developed and co-taught by 5 faculties. So Arts and Social Science is one big faculty, and then Business School, Communication Schools, the School of Creative Arts, and Faculty of Science. All right, these 5 faculties together will develop one interdisciplinary course. So in total, there are about 60 interdisciplinary courses available for students to choose, and students are required to take 2 courses, but quite a few students took more courses than required. So it is an evidence showing that these courses are really interesting and helpful. So it's time to talk about our capstone. So this pyramid structure will be completed by placing a capstone on top. So what exactly we require students to do is to complete an interdisciplinary GE course or an interdisciplinary independent study. So let's talk about course first. So the GE Capstone courses are divided into 3 categories, but students have to take only 1 course. All right, the first category is service learning. The idea is to address community needs off campus via an experiential pedagogy that integrates academic learning with meaningful service projects. So we are not talking about only volunteer service. So we are talking about meaningful service learning projects. So here is an example, service learning in fighting poverty. So in collaboration with non-government organizations, students will gain first-person experience of the poverty issue and interact with grassroots in Hong Kong through direct participation in their community programs. So there are a lot of off-campus community engagement activities. And they, of course, have to work together. So they will team up in small groups to work on an innovative project that will alleviate poverty or promote social inclusion. So this is the kind of service learning course that we have. These are the activities that they did in the course. So they are collecting and distributing food and secondhand books to the underprivileged. So another example, storytelling for Hong Kong minority communities. So working together with non-government organizations, students will learn about different historical and contemporary minority communities living in Hong Kong, as divided by race and religious affiliation, etc. And students will engage with minority communities and conduct documentary reporting. That is their project. So including learning digital hardware and software to document the daily life and family life, etc. And so they go to a very famous building that a lot of refugees are living, and they go with this NGO called the Christian Action. And these are some of the photos. So another example, bringing Chinese culture into the community through art activities. So students explore the essential facets of Chinese culture in the local context through engagement with senior high school students. So we learned not only among ourselves, we also interact with high school students and bring the high school students together to the community. So it's some kind of service to the community, but it's also some kind of educational service to high schools. So for example, they go to visit these different places in Hong Kong, the heritage buildings. So they learned, and then they bring what they learned into the community in the format of, say, a market. All right, that is the activities that they will do in this kind of GE Capstone course. Now, another kind of GE Capstone course is service leadership education. It's not the same as service learning. Its emphasis is on leadership. So we want to equip students to make them be good service leaders. So they have the leadership competencies, entrepreneurial spirit, and ethical practices. So here is an example, design for smart city. So we want to develop a group of innovative change makers who have a vision of social responsibility, sustainable development leadership, and are able to do strategic planning and design so that they can bring social impacts to their workplace, community, and the world. And that is what we meant by a leader and a change maker. So students will learn the concepts, the framework, and key technologies and applications related to smart cities. So there are scholarly developments for students to make. So they will learn something. And then they will work in groups to co-design smart and sustainable solutions together with community partners like non-government organizations. And another course, service leadership in learning communities. So it's to provide students with major theories of leadership from different perspectives. So theories in service learning and learning community. And this course will also equip them with the necessary skills to act as service leaders. For what? So as service leaders in supporting youth undertaking service learning activities in the community. So the youths are service learning students, and our students will be service leaders. And drawing from concepts of community of practice, youth development, service leadership, the students will design and conduct service learning activities involving youth and community members in different settings. So this will be the group project that they have to do. So one more example in service leadership, human capital sustainability, leadership for a better future. So it's to develop rational decision-making attitude and necessary ethical mindsets to promote good practices for organizations and create values for the communities, and to bring positive values such as ethics, empathy, etc., to uphold organization sustainability and community sustainability. All right, so that is the aim of the course, and students will be asked to provide recommendations on how to develop employees to be ethical and responsible leaders. That will be the project work that students have to do. And they also have to show how to engage young generation in the volunteering activities from the perspectives of human resources management. So we still have a academic discipline perspective for them to take, but they are applying this perspective for the service leadership. So the final category of our GE Capstone course is experiential learning. In fact, service learning is a kind of experiential learning. Service leadership education is also a kind of experiential learning. So whenever it's talking about service, then we will move them to the previous two categories. But when it's not exactly about service, then we will put it under this experiential learning category. So in general, it's talking about to address community needs by applying knowledge and skills in a wider context of real life setting. So here is an example, ecotourism in the Greater Bay Area. So this course explores a wide variety of issues related to the developmental blueprint in the Greater Bay Area in China. So it's talking about economics, politics, etc., but especially ecotourism. And it focuses particularly on the understanding of the development of the Greater Bay Area through face-to-face field interviews with the residents there. So students really have to go out and talk to the residents, but it's not providing service to them. We are talking about ecotourism. That's why it is not a service learning, not a service leadership, but just experiential learning. So, and the work they have to do is to submit a group ecotourism planning proposal that includes analysis of attractions, accessibility, amenities, activities, and accommodation. So there are some solid material that they have to learn and to apply to their group project. So it is another course. So fact-checking, misinformation and disinformation. So we want to equip students with the necessary skills and knowledge to distinguish news from infotainment, publicity from propaganda, and information from misinformation. This seems to be very practical because nowadays we have so much noise available from the internet. And it provides students with the intellectual foundation and analytical tools to judge the reliability of the sources. So what they will learn is qualitative and quantitative methods for assessing information. So including content analysis, social network analysis, etc. And they will monitor news and others about some selected subjects in specified periods and evaluate their accuracy, and eventually produce fact-checking reports as their deliverable of their project. And these reports will be posted online and shared with fact-checking organizations and media outlets. And here is one more example about experiential learning, children as consumers, marketing to the youth. So it has some clear aim, and well, the aim here, and then we are talking about equipping students with some hands-on experience and interdisciplinary study on an issue related to marketing to children, such as, but not limited to, child obesity, gender stereotyping, and materialism. So students in this course will design and conduct an empirical research study to examine the factors, the process, and the consequences related to the issues with children and youth as participants. And this is a very good example that shows how courses work can result in a teaching-led research output. So the instructor published a journal paper entitled Attributes of Young Adults' Favorite Retail Shops, a qualitative study in the journal Young Consumers. And in about 2 years' time, it has been downloaded about 900 times. So it's really widely read. So, and it is an excellent example of our teaching-led research output. But we are not only interested in teaching-led research, we are also interested in research-led teaching. And that is how we have this interdisciplinary independent study. So the idea is that under the supervision of a faculty member, the student in this study analyzes a real social issue that the community is facing and provides an integrated solution to address the issues. So example, so students may be asked to go to a beach to estimate the population size of, say, horseshoe crabs by random quadrant sampling. Remember, I'm a mathematician. So using a quadrant and count, and then we try to estimate the population size of some endangered species. And we can also measure the widths of them to see if the histogram or the distribution of the widths approximates a normal distribution. Why we want to do so? If you are a fan of Jurassic Park, you may have read this. So it is the height of some dinosaur in the Jurassic Park. It is the normal distribution. And it seems it is what we expect to see. Excellent. But in the movie, you will realize that this normal distribution is in fact terribly worrisome. Why? Because in the Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs were introduced as free batches, and they are not supposed to reproduce themselves. So they should not have a normal distribution, but they should be a mixture of three normal distributions. So this is an example how we can integrate different disciplines into a GE course, and talking about endangered species, and talk about counting how many of them, and talking about measuring their size. Now, here are some other examples. It is a project supervised by the Geography Department, human, wildlife, animal conflict through studying monkeys. So there will be a field study to observe human-monkey interactions, and students have to identify the impact of human activities on monkeys and find out better ways to reduce human-animal conflict and facilitate coexistence between human and wildlife animals through the case of monkeys. Why we focus on monkeys? Because there are quite a lot of wild monkeys in Hong Kong. Even Hong Kong is metropolitan, and the population is very dense. Believe it or not, I sometimes or often see monkeys in front of my windows in my home kitchen. So there are some other interdisciplinary independent studies. So teen suicide is a possible topic. No, actually a topic that had been studied, and talking about reduced water wastage and the overall water consumption, and talking about walkability in Hong Kong. So some other examples, so light pollution, overpopulation, and green enterprise. These are past examples of interdisciplinary independent studies. And here are some photos to show you the course activities. It is a service learning course entitled Connecting the Elderly with the Internet eSports. So elderly visiting our campus and have an eSports competition with students. So you see quite a lot of elderlies here. So here is a course in the service leadership education, talking about sports and disability in the Hong Kong Chinese media. So para-athletes came to campus and demonstrate snookers and wheelchair basketball. And students try to sit on wheelchair to play basketballs. And here is an example of experiential learning, financial planning, preemptive measures to various in-class project prototype demonstration. So the instructor is here and showing students some game that can help people to have better financial planning. And a year 2 BBA student from Thailand, so not an exchange student, but a regular student that will study 4 years in Hong Kong, joined her friend's presentation. I actually didn't remember why she was in the presentation. She was not a student of this class, not yet. She was year 2, and this is for year 3. But she joined the presentation of her friends. But I don't remember exactly why. But anyway, it seems she has fitted into life in Hong Kong very well. So please be rest assured that if you have students who want to come to Hong Kong to study, there will be no problems for them to fit into life in Hong Kong. And well, internationalization is not just about having incoming students on campus, but also talking about sending students out for non-local learning experiences. And major discipline programs may send their students out for semester-long exchanges. But for GE program, we don't have our own students. How can we have internationalization? So GE program may include non-local trips for experiential learning activities in the capstone course. So here are some photos showing your non-local trips to different parts of China. So the mainland. So here is Macau and here is Taiwan. All right. And this is quite interesting. So students go to a Taiwan university and they met the president of that university, but these students never met our own president on campus. All right. Assessments in our GE courses. As I mentioned, all courses, no matter GE or major, the exam type assessment should not exceed 40% in total. When I say exam type, it doesn't mean only final exam. It also means quiz, midterm test, etc. All right, they together cannot be more than 40%. And so project presentation, verbal and written, is a typical assessment task. But some of them are really good, and so we will make an anthology of students' articles to produce them as a booklet and for circulation. So this is a written collection of students' interviews with para-athletes about their struggles and success. And this is from another capstone course, and it is a compilation of student service learning projects with their own reflections and feedback from community partners. So we can also hear how community partners feel about the students' service. And here is a booklet about oral history. So if historians have no idea how to serve the community, here is an example. So go to the community and talk about oral history, talk with elderlies and see what they remember in the past. And the presentation of the coursework is not necessarily in form of verbal or written presentation. It can be posters. So these creative posters created by students to document their community engagement. And this is another one. So talking about elderly's personal stories. And we make virtual exhibition to showcase all these beautiful posters. Let me show you a short video. So it's just about 39 seconds. This is our virtual exhibition showing different outputs of GE course. Or not one GE course, several GE courses. So I hope in the future, when we have a well-established metaverse, we can have a real exhibition center in the metaverse of our university. But at this moment, this virtual exhibition is a standalone exhibition gallery. So in addition to virtual exhibition, we also have physical exhibition when the project deliverables are tangible. So here are students presenting their project outputs in a physical exhibition on campus, and these are their deliverables. And sometimes we have exhibitions that aim at engaging with the community. So here is an example of the course Art and the Community, and students showcase their work in booths at the Palace Museum. So it is a very big and beautiful museum in Hong Kong. And what other kind of assessments are possible? One is, say, simulation. Here is an example, simulating the EU Council. So it is the course entitled the Sustainable Peace. And students are discussing about Ukraine. And although it is a simulation, not everything is simulated. This lady is the real head of political press and information session in the EU office to Hong Kong. So she is not simulated. She is really the person. And we also have the welcome speech by the president of the EU Council. So this is something really serious. So it's not just a very casual discussion between students. It's a very serious simulation and a very important assessment task. It can be an online simulation. It can be a real physical simulation. So students also talk about Western Balkans and the Middle East in the council chamber. So you can see students are presenting different countries in the EU Council. So another kind of assessment task is documentaries. So in this course, Hong Kong Cinema, Culture and Society. So documentaries are produced by students based on their interviews with the underprivileged and marginalized groups. And it can be also in forms of videos of their community engagement. So just capturing students' engagement with the community in their project. So it's not necessarily some documentaries. The content of the videos will be tailor-made for the purpose of the course. It can be letters to the editor in the media outlets. So, for example, this course, taking a stand, engaging in public discourse through advanced research and writing. So, students write letters and opinion pieces and publish them in major media outlets like the South China Morning Post. All right, and students may learn from the work of others who may not necessarily be students in the same course. So it is important to connect students. How? We have an assignment competition. So it is a campus-wide competition, recognizing students' contribution to solving societal and global problems. And so students in different courses can submit their work to this competition. And we will find out the outstanding work and give them awards. And then the awardees of the assignment competition can share their insights in form of a sharing session, in form of talks like this. And here is an online talk. And we also try to connect students by Facebook and IG, and we make some stickers. Because although the GE office is not the host department of any students, because no student is major in GE, so we are not the host department of anyone. We still try to connect with students so that they know what's happening in GE program. And here is an example of our IG page. Now, after connecting with students, we actually also want to connect our teachers. So because they are like-minded GE teachers from different faculties, and they may not know each other. So it is the job of the GE office to connect them. How? We have a GE buddy program. The aim is to develop a teaching support network within the GE community and to facilitate professional exchange to enhance teaching experience. The work is rather straightforward. We lay the groundwork by arbitrarily pairing up two teachers for just one session of mutual classroom observation within a semester. So it's a very minimal commitment. And then we just let the network grow organically. All right. So it's just a very minimal commitment, one observation in a semester. No pressure, it's flexible, it's casual, it's either online or in person and on a voluntary basis. And so it is quite exciting to join this program. but sometimes we also have a platform to allow all buddies to sit together for a in-depth conversation. And so we also organize different activities for them to have these conversations. And any achievement from this buddy program, here is an example. A new GE Capstone course, Empowering Citizens Through Data, Participatory Policy and Analysis for Hong Kong. It is exactly what I mentioned before, how to connect teachers from different faculties to co-develop a course. And this is one possible way. We have this kind of buddy program to connect them. So this is co-taught by a mathematician, not me, okay, my colleague, and a researcher in public policy. And how come they will have this idea? Because they share a common interest in what? AI enhanced data informed decision making. So they have some discussion during lunch or during their class observation talking about AI, and then suddenly realize they are both interested in this AI enhanced decision making involving data. And so later they develop this course and offer it as a GE Capstone course. We also share our experience with other GE instructors in form of presentations, so GE sharing sessions. Now, after talking about connecting teachers, then talk about pedagogies. So because the GE Capstone courses require students to be more proactive in their community engagement activities. So it's not an ordinary classroom class. We may have to have some new ideas, and students as partners, SAP is a possibility. So we encourage and provide support to teachers to adopt these students as partners pedagogy. So a student partner is not a teaching assistant who just executes instructions from the instructor, but rather a real partner who will add an additional dimension to the course teaching and learning. How? So student partners can offer a wealth of perspectives, enabling teachers to, for example, to co-develop technology-enhanced educational experiences that cater to the needs and the digital fluency of learners. Teachers may overestimate or underestimate the digital fluency of the students and may not really understand the needs in the contemporary society. So they may invent some very difficult technology-enhanced education experience that does not meet the needs. So the student partners can provide advices to the teachers. And here are some activities under this scheme. So it's playing drones. And we are very excited about these students as partner schemes. And so we organized sharings and symposia on this student-staff partnership pedagogy. And interestingly, this is a workshop organized by another university in Hong Kong, but all speakers are our GE teachers. So one university organized a workshop, but all speakers are from the other university. All right. Now, while we may believe that the design of our capstone or our whole GE program is excellent, and the capstone will mark the completion of a successful and brilliant GE program, we must also ensure that our peers and the community share this view. We also aim to establish a mechanism that ensures every course consistently receives additional insights from external source and from different perspectives. And that is the job of nowadays called the quality assurance. So at the program level, we have external evaluation, and every 6 years, we have this academic consultation panel, or ACP for short. So the panel composition will be 4 external academics, local and non-local, and 1 internal co-opted member. So last time when we invited local members, we invited 1 from the University of Hong Kong. So we understand what the other local institutions are doing, and so that we can share our success and failure in the context of the need of Hong Kong. The scope of work of the ACP is to reveal our self-evaluation. So we, of course, we say, oh, we are great, we are excellent, we are very successful, etc. But the panel members will conduct interviews with the GE committee members, the instructors, and students to make sure that the GE office, the self-evaluation is not an exaggeration of the success. And they will provide recommendations for enhancing the program quality. And so it is every 6 years, but between 2 ACP visits, we have a departmental academic advisor, or DAA for short. So we just need one non-local member, typically is a member of the preceding ACP. And the scope of work is to provide a midterm formative feedback. So actually, ACP, and then after 3 years, we have DAA, and then 3 years after DAA, we have another ACP. And the DAA will identify actions for improvement so that for the coming ACP, we have something to report. And it will also benchmark the program against standards of overseas institutions and to review the progress of the follow-ups of the recommendation of the preceding ACP. Now, I can resist everything but temptations. Okay, and in particular, temptations to quote positive comments from the DAA and the ACP. So some positive comments from the DAA in 2021 is talking about that HKBU is doing very well in moving towards a thoroughly holistic curriculum. And he was impressed, or she was impressed by the number of courses and options offered and the very rough mapping of the course and the program intended learning outcomes onto syllabi. She recommended the clear structure. She commended the clear structure of the GE program, and so especially the integration of interdisciplinarity and service learning. And she commended that we are an example of a culture of continuous improvement. So it seems, well, we are doing what we think we have done. And the ACP in 2022, they said that the curriculum aligns well with the mission of our university, that is to say the whole person education. The 3-tier, so the 3-level structure of the GE program provides students with a progressive interdisciplinary learning opportunities. And so we want to talk about best student experience. And so this is one of the mission of the university, or the strategy of the university. And we succeed in by the enhanced service and experiential learning in the GE Capstone. And the panel members believe that the GE program prepares students well for future studies and career development. But not only at the program level, we also want to have some input from external reviewers at the course level. And so we have the course renewal exercise. So it's a 3-year cycle, just like the University of Hong Kong. It's a 3-year cycle. But what we do is not exactly the same as the University of Hong Kong, because as I understand, they don't have the levels. So we do it by levels. So the level 1 is already be reviewed, and the new courses are being offered in the current academic year. And the level 2, we just finished the review in the current academic year, and we'll offer them the new courses next year, or well, next month. The level 3 capstone courses, we are going to review them in the coming academic year. So this is our cycle of renewal exercise. And again, positive comments. So it is so the external reviewers found our courses is a representative of what a good GE course should be, bringing interdisciplinary perspectives and to bear on a set of public issues. That's exactly what our courses aim to. And a reviewer appreciates the breadth of material and the diversity of activities. All right, so we have to make sure that there is sufficient academic contents in our courses and a lot of learning activities. So, and a reviewer like the course, so make it fun for students and keep them engaged. And a reviewer found our course is truly transdisciplinary. And this is brilliant. So exactly the sort of educational adventure that all universities should offer. And well, very promising comments. So life-changing for students, rigorous, multifaceted, and intermittently relevant to students' life and their future. All right, some final remark. So we, not only students have to be recognized, teachers also have to be recognized. Otherwise, they may not have sufficient motivation to offer good teaching or to put extra effort. So we have GE Teaching Award every year. And then we will invite them to share their good practices in form of videos. And let me just show you 2 short videos before we finish the presentation today. So this is the one by 2 course or 3 course instructors. Just 3 minutes.
GCAP 3056 is an award-winning general education capstone course that Ben and I co-develop and co-teach for the Language Center and the Department of English.
The course is designed to empower students to conduct research on policies and programs of the Hong Kong government, and then they share their insights by writing in the South China Morning Post letters column.
I help students to develop their research skills and to communicate their findings effectively in writing. I also help students in understanding the social issues and the role of the government policies in addressing these social issues.
I hope that I was able to open up some possible topic areas for student project work based on my own research interests in the LGBT+ community in Hong Kong and Asia. They were able to formulate a convincing argument on the need for better gender and sexuality inclusivity initiatives as a letter to the SCMP.
We also collaborated on writing letters to the editor in the South China Morning Post as a way to demonstrate to our students the kind of writing and engagement with public discourse that we expect of in the course.
And actually having the opportunity to publish an article in a leading newspaper in Hong Kong is a real highlight of the course. Students find it rewarding to have their voices heard by the community through this publication.
We also hope that students will develop the skills and confidence to engage in informed public discourse and make a difference in their community.
And we also hope that they'll actually be inspired to continue being active citizens and contribute to the public good long after the course is over.
Sustainable peace is mainly based on the emerging field of peace and conflict studies. It introduces students to theories and practical tools in peace building, with particular geographic focus on conflict dynamics in contemporary Europe and Asia. Students are expected to engage in conflict analysis and work towards conflict resolution in role play and simulation exercises. Each of them was to be paired with an online partner, and both of them were required to actively contribute to the negotiation process. The uniqueness of this method is that it maximizes the participation possibilities and the interaction intensity of both online and offline students as far as technically possible. In 2018, I received a research grant under the earlier career scheme of the Research Grants Council on a 3-year project dealing with reconciliation efforts in Northern Ireland under the Belfast Agreement. The research grant had an education portion that allowed me to support 2 of my previous students' honors projects on Northern Ireland. And they came as experts to my class to help facilitate the simulation exercise on negotiating the Good Friday Agreement. I also used the fund to pay for an international legal expert to co-facilitate the final simulation exercise. So in multiple ways, our GC-funded research projects can actually bring learning benefits to our students directly.
All right, and here is one more video. So 2.5 minutes.
The GE Capstone course I've been teaching is called GCAP 3135, Sports and Disability in the Hong Kong Chinese Media. There is an underrepresentation of the para-athletes and disabled sports in the mainstream media. I think after taking this course, students can provide innovative solutions to improve the situation. At the same time, they may be nurtured to become future leaders who are familiar with the concepts of inclusivity and diversity. We give lectures, invite guests, including para-athletes, sports journalists, and our community partner, Hong Kong Paralympic Committee and Sports Association for the Physically Disabled, to give lecture to students where they learn most of the theories and history of disabled sports in Hong Kong. We also organize some activities-based learning for them. Students participate in a wheelchair basketball match with Hong Kong wheelchair basketball players. During the match, students learn how to play and operate the wheelchair, the rules and the challenges of the game. After that, a heart-to-heart sharing session with those para-athletes was also organized. With the support of the General Education Office, Tin Ka Ping Foundation, the School of Communication and the Department of Journalism of Hong Kong Baptist University, we jointly organized a private movie preview show, Zero to Hero. The event also aimed at arousing public awareness and calling for public support through the inspirational theme of the struggle of the Paralympic athletes. We finally published students' interviews of para-athletes in a booklet and distribute about 500 hard copies to the community. I'm very confident to say that all the teaching and learning objectives of this GE course have been fully achieved. I'm sure they will become very good leaders in the future who care about the disabled community.
Okay, thank you for viewing. And this is also the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chiu Sung Nok, for your valuable sharing in terms of graduate attributes, assessment learning outcomes, undergraduate curriculum, supports for students, exhibitions and simulation exercises, and also ways to connect students and teachers together. And also in terms of eye-opening capstone projects ranging from alleviating poverty to helping minorities and refugee, skills for leadership, planning, ecotourism, fact-checking, misinformation, marketing to young children, reducing human-animal conflict, sustainable peace, and many others. These are necessary and rewarding for students and communities for sure nowadays. And I totally agree with the statement. This is the representative of what a good GE course should be. I'm quite certain that our participants now are thrilled by the possibilities that these can happen in Thai education as well. Right. And right now, I think it's Q&A time. So we encourage you to share your thoughts and questions again. So remember, your queries might be on someone else's mind too. So let's make this interactive and make it a truly enriching experience. Who is ready to be the first to jump in? Yeah, I can see some questions. Oh, not yet. Yeah, you can feel free to type in your questions in the chat box, or if you would like to turn on your microphone and ask a question, please do so.
Okay.
Right. Yes, we have one person here. Oh, okay. Said, thank you so much for great information for us. What are you supporting the students for doing their GE project or GE capstone project, such as seed money, consultation session, learning space in classroom or out of classroom, and or other learning materials, and how you prepare them? Yes.
Okay, thank you for the question. So when we bring students off campus, of course, we first have to train them, to give them preparation. And so we have to have some classes first, and then they have to have some idea what they want to do when they doing some off-campus activities. Of course, we may also bring them to visit different non-government organizations beforehand, but when they really have to do field work, then they must have sufficient training to make sure that they know what they are going to do. Otherwise, it will be a waste of time. And talking about seed money, well, they are going to receive some pocket money for their activities. So but there will not be a lot of money because they are doing those off-campus activities locally. If the instructor is going to bring them to non-local places like mainland China or Taiwan or Macau, then the instructor have to apply money for students. So it's typically not students who apply money from us. It is the instructor who apply money from us. So that is how the seed money work. And consultation session and learning space is all to be managed by the course instructors. So we always check the syllabus, whether there are sufficient preparation for students before they go out for their off-campus activities. Thank you.
Thank you. And how about Dr. Jaxel? Do you have anything to add for this?
Yeah, so from the HKU's perspective, we actually get the students we encourage the students to do it themselves if they can. So we encourage them to write out the plan and then to do the budgeting and talk to the NGOs and actually do as much as they can. Of course, they can also get faculty support, and we can also support them in making connections as well. But yeah, for us, it's we do want the students to take leadership, and we have students who then lead, and then they write up the application. We then say, okay, maybe this learning activity is not appropriate, or maybe you can think of other things, or maybe we might ask them questions. Or what are you trying to do here? Or is there a better way of doing it? Yeah, so we want to try to get students to do as much as possible, because we understand the teachers are very, very busy. And sometimes if you wait for the teachers to apply, they might not actually apply. I mean, of course, the passionate ones will. But if the students can do as much as possible, then yeah, that's our approach anyway. And we're very generous in terms of our funding for students. I think similar to HKBU, like if they're traveling to mainland China, overseas, and there's actually a lot of funding involved. But there's also a lot of funding given to them as well for that experience.
Right. Thank you so
I want
much.
to supplement a little bit, talking about how busy the teachers are. We actually call the teachers to see whether, do you want money? We have funding opportunities, etc. So open call and waiting for their application may not be very effective for very busy instructors. We really call them because they may be interested in applying research funding, but they may not be that interested in applying pedagogical funding. So we really have to remind them that there are such possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's really
Thank
great.
you so much.
There's funding available for teachers. Yeah, and all the projects. Okay.
I have one question. So thank you so much for your insights. I love the idea of empowering students. And since we encourage them to define their own learning pathway, right? Like the flexibility of the learning pathway. And could you please share how you communicate with students to give them the overview of the whole journey that they need to go through during they are in the university, and and how you assist them along the journey, and also what tools do you use to track and support their learning process? Thank you.
Let me start first. So it's really not easy to communicate with students because they are very passive. They just sit down and listen, and you will never understand whether they really understand what you want them to do. So, but we still do our job. We have orientation sessions, and students come and we explain to them the structure of the program, the philosophy, what we want them to learn, and what flexibility they have. But eventually, they will still deviate from all the principles. One big problem is they don't get information from instructors. They prefer to get information from their peers, which happens to be a source of misinformation. But we just try to connect them by Facebook, by IG, by sending emails. Email is never effective. They don't read emails. But well, another way is to encourage instructors to explain to them the whole idea of the program, and it helps a little bit. All right, that's my thinking. Thank you.
Yeah, just adding to what Professor Chiu mentioned. I guess I agree with all those points. Yeah, it's very hard to communicate to students nowadays. There's different ways of getting information, and email is not always the best way. I agree. They usually delete their emails and go, and then later on they'll go, oh, why didn't you tell me about this opportunity later on? I mean, we do have the student peer consultants that we that volunteer for our program, and then they also help with sharing the word. And I guess, yeah, we of course we do a lot of promotions during induction. So when they come in during orientation, they come in and we actually do have a lot of sessions, and we do tell them about all the opportunities and pathways. But ultimately it's up to the students to kind of lead other students. And so I think having those kind of ambassadors, for example, recently our projects to Thailand or to Philippines have been student-led. So it's like one student leading a group of, a dozen other students to go on these kind of trips or to undertake these projects. And yeah, the more we can kind of encourage that leadership from the students, the better. But yeah, I mean, we just have to go, to use other methods. Yeah, not just through social media, but there's also forums where students talk to each other. They find study buddies and talk about different issues. Yeah, so we kind of use those forums as well to communicate with the students. We do have also showcase events where we get students to showcase their work. And so that's also another forum where students can find out about what other students are doing. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. So yeah, the same here also in Thai context. We need to do many, many things in many channels to let them know what we are doing and what we have to offer to them. Yeah. And also peer sharing words seem to be quite effective, really. Right. So how about others? Do you have any more questions?
So can I ask one more question here? So I think our students, some of them have a different maturity. And since that we need our students to be more proactive during the whole learning process, like, do you have any technique to cultivate the proactive mind or lifelong learning mind to your students? Because they are just right from high school and they always ask me to tell them, just tell me what to do.
Yeah,
so
that's why we introduced these students as partners scheme. So the instructor can recruit any kind of students. It may be his own final year project student. It may be a student who was in his class a year before. So they will identify some mature students with good leadership skill or good communication skills, and then these student partners can facilitate or to activate the activities in class and in the off-campus activities, because the students typically do not want to talk to instructors. I don't know why, but they don't want to talk to instructors because perhaps we are too old. But they are happy to talk to the student partners because they are still peers. And so student and partners is a possible way to build a bridge from the students to the instructor. So this is a way that we are trying to do.
Yeah, so for us, I guess like students, when they come into, to the university, they have to start making choices. And those choices, they have to make it. So I think that already gets them to think about and plan their own pathways. Of course, then we've got all these other platforms which we provide to them, which then they can opt to come in and, create their own projects. But, creating their own projects is also something that's quite difficult for students. So that's why we also have these structured projects where all they have to do is just, they look interesting, so they register for it and then they can participate in it. The Myanmar refugee project, which the students recently did, was started because the students participated in a structured project first. So they participated in a structured project, which we went to MESOT and we did a few kind of digital teaching projects to the refugee students there. And then based on that, then the students then led their, and created their own project from that experience. So there's some scaffolding that you can create. I agree with Professor Chiu about the Students as Partners program. So that's always very useful. And we're doing that not just within Common Core, but also across our university. We have a Community of Partners program for Students as Partners, which has been very successful, and which has created a lot of different exciting pedagogical innovations across all the faculties. And that's been quite successful. I think also looking to Western Sydney as well recently, Western Sydney has had a very successful Student as Partners program where they actually pay their students quite well. And they've created some amazing kind of promotional initiatives, targeted communication materials for the students, but also a lot of projects which the students have very successfully participated in. And if you look at the Times higher education ranking, they're number one in the impact factor. So they're doing something quite amazing there. And I think reaching out to Thai Paseta in Western Sydney, if any of you are interested, it would be very interesting to get her to talk about how they've used Student as Partners very, very successfully. And we're also learning from them as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, students partner and together with incentives for the student partners as well. And also, letting them learn and plan their own project, the project of their choice would be great to build up their courage, their leadership in the future. Yeah. All right.
We have one more question in the chat box.
Yeah, we have another question. Can I have more question? Do you have supporting staff during class running, such as education design, education technologist? If you have, can you describe their role, please?
I can start with that. So, we have it's kind of centralized teaching and learning innovation center, and their role is to upskill the teachers. But also from the Common Core, we also run a lot of professional development kind of initiatives, workshops. and in the communication intensive courses initiative as well. And part of that is how do you use educational kind of technology well, and how do you do curriculum design? And I think that's crucial for teachers to be effective now. Of course, you can still get away with maybe low tech. It doesn't have to be high tech. It doesn't have to be sophisticated, but they do have to know how to use some of those tools, which can be very useful in facilitating a good experience pedagogically, but also for students to learn digital skills, right? So, and how to embed that kind of digital skills learning into the course. And I think those things are quite crucial. So we do have kind of curriculum designers, and we wouldn't say educational technologists, but we would have people who are kind of curriculum designers who are also good at education or technology. And we run kind of these workshops quite frequently for students for teachers to know how to use these technologies.
So at the Hong Kong Baptist University, we have a Center for Holistic Teaching and Learning, and they are going to offer advices and help to instructors in education technology, in new pedagogies. So when teachers want to try something, no matter it's about new pedagogy or new technology, there is a office that can help them with professional staff. And we also have a center for service learning, so that when instructors want to connect with other non-government organizations that they do not know, then they may approach this center for service learning to see whether they can be the middleman to connect them. And when an instructor needs some extra hands for their overseas trip, the GE office may also provide one or two secretaries for them, where the course is charged to the GE office. And so we have different kind of supports depending on what the instructors want.
Okay, wow, that there are a lot of support from the university, the workshops for the teachers, and also office that has professional staff, and also center to help the teachers when they want to approach NGOs or things like that. That's really good. Okay. If you have more questions, please feel free to type in. So maybe no more questions. All right. Right. So, Ajahn May, shall I? Okay. All right. So, I don't think we have more questions anymore, right? As we near the end of our webinar, I would like to thank both our speakers, Dr. Tsao from the University of Hong Kong and Professor Chiu Sung Nok from Hong Kong Baptist University for sharing their expertise and best practices. Importantly, I would also like to thank everyone for being a part of this thought-provoking webinar. We hope you leave with valuable insights into interdisciplinary general education and its possibilities in Thai education. And remember, problems and challenges can become opportunities when the right people come together. So stay connected, and we look forward to seeing you in our future events. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.